6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Figured Out Friday. Happy Figured Out Friday. Happy Friday. Put TGIF in the chat. Put TGIF in the chat. It's going to be a great Friday. Jada, Chad Free, and his son Jackson it's game day today. Game day today. They got their first football game. Prayers and safety for all our players out there, our athletes that are playing this weekend. It's already starting. Fall is here, 2 weeks away from college football, and then we get to the NFL. Yes, that time of the year. Guess what, Diane? You won't even believe it. I saw freaking pumpkin spice in the grocery store. I saw pumpkin spice when I was in Disney all last week. Disney already had it decorated. Fall was already, pumpkins were out. They were already decorating. You know, it's kind of like, I always find it fascinating that we get so excited about summer. It's like we can't wait for the next season. We're always excited over the next season. And I don't know why. I like summer, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't wait for school to start. I cannot wait for school to start. Anyways, so good morning, everybody. My name is Coach Brock Zevan, life coach, business coach, real estate coach, and a DAD. And welcome to our Figure It Out Friday edition that we have today. And just a lot of amazing things that we are going to be putting together on this Figure It Out Friday, and some of the things that we got brewing and shaking. And one thing that does not get removed is amazing people. And today we have an amazing guest, Teresa, out on the West Coast, back in California. So I'm very thankful. Our West Coast people, always hats off to them, because as you know all, it is 5:15 in the morning, and it is Diane shaking her head. There's no way, Diane. Thank goodness Diane is on the East Coast. Good thing she's on the East Coast. And yeah, Rosario, our Central Time people, we'll give them a little of a violin, because it's only an hour difference over there. But I ask our leaders, I ask those people you have heard, who speak, who are on the show, who they feel is somebody that should be on the show, somebody who has a story that somebody needs to hear today. As you all know, I think Kendra Cook said it the other time. She's like, okay, if there's 25 people on here, there's another 25 or so that end up listening on Facebook, and then you got the recording. So typically it's anywhere from 75 to 80 people usually hear this in the morning, and then I lose track after it goes into the vault of YouTube, which you need to go to my YouTube page if you want to see any of the shows. It's recorded there. But the point is today's story is meant for somebody. Somebody today is going to lean in today, and you're going to feel like, are they talking to me? And sometimes I hear that many times, like, Brock, I just felt the message today was for me. Good, then do something about it, is what I tell them. So today is Christian. Christian brought Teresa, and I asked Christian to lead us today on Figure It Out Friday, since he knows Teresa more than I do. They've been acquaintances and friends for the last couple of years and built a relationship. And I typically, when Figure It Out Friday, sometimes I only meet him right now. I meet him in the green room. And I love it because it's fun for me, because it's just like, all right, let's see where this is going to go. But I asked Christian to lead us today. So I'm going to be alongside. I'm kind of going to go from the driver's seat to the passenger seat, and I'll let Christian take over and introduce Teresa, as she's going to be scooching up. Remember those seats? Remember those car seats where it's like the front row was like one seat, and if the driver needed to scoot up, the whole seat had to scoot up. I remember that. Yeah, then you had to roll down your window. Oh, those were the good old days. I have some stories about that, but we're going to save that for another time. Christian, go ahead, brother. Lead us into this Figured Out Friday, man. Good morning to you.
Well, welcome everybody. I might be switching cameras, just FYI, because my computer's acting a little funny. But I'm so excited for today to have Teresa on. I met Teresa probably, I don't know, it's been a couple years now. We met through a coaching program. We both were in a very top tier coaching program for the industry we're in. We ended up meeting through there, and we've been part of a mastermind group, Teresa, myself, Rosario, and one other gentleman for at least a year now. So just an incredible person. I'm very excited to have her on. So, Teresa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Christian Brock. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Teresa, why don't we start with this? Let's start with a little bit of your backstory, what you were doing before you got into what you're doing now, maybe the situation that led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've I started my career actually not in the industry that we're in right now. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the financial industry, similar to what Christian does. But before that, I was living what they told us to be the American dream, which is, go to college, get a good job, and work your way up and get that white picket fenced house with, you know, two and a half kids, which I did. Well, worked my way up, obviously. But prior to getting into the industry that we are in right now, I was actually a global marketing leader for Silicon Valley Tech. What that means really is that I didn't have a 9 to 5 job because I had to manage teams all around the globe. So I had an around the clock job, right? But the reason why I was so dedicated to just moving up the corporate ladder, breaking glasses, was because of where I was or the family that I was born in. We, I lived in the third world country, the Philippines, where poverty was prevalent, and we were one of those
We're in
families
the
where.
we're in the Philippines. Not to interrupt you, but I got a
Oh
couple
yeah.
VAs in here that are in the Philippines. We're in the Philippines.
So I grew up in Baguio. I'm not sure if
I
everyone
like, you know
was
what, all
familiar.
what's so funny, but I act like I know exactly. I like know one place in the Philippines, Manila. Outside of that, I'm learning a lot because I'm going there in October. But I
Oh
was like,
wow.
wow, how cool is that? She's in the Philippines too.
Yeah, so Philippines Baguio is about it's north of Manila, about an 8 hour drive. So yeah, I grew up there. Well, lived my first third of my life there. Family was not wealthy. My mom had to, like most Filipinos, where a parent would have to work overseas just to provide for the family back home. And that's what my mom did. But my dad also had to work at a different town in order to provide for the family as well. And so at a very young age, I was forced into adulthood to take care of my brother and sister. And, because of that, I vowed to myself that when I have my own family, I wouldn't let that my children, I only have one child now, but at that time I was thinking, I'm not going to let my children experience the same childhood that I did, where I didn't really have a childhood because I was forced into adulthood to take care of my brother and sister. And so that was kind of like the mindset I had while I was at my W-2, just wanted to make sure that we would never fall into that poverty line ever. So all I was thinking was, just work your way up and live that American dream that everyone was sold into. But, God has a funny way of like waking you up. In 2021, he pretty much told me that this is not the life that was meant for me. 2021, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Mm.
Now, I am cancer free now, thank God. But it was the wake up call that I needed. Because if it wasn't for that, I would still probably be in my W-2, working up the ladder and still not spending quality time with my family. Now, I was working from home at that time, which means that I was able to spend time with my family. But Was I present while I was spending time with them? Probably not, because half of my mind is at work, right?
Right.
And so cancer, I'm taking, like, I see cancer now as a blessing in disguise in my case, because again, if it wasn't for that, I would still be in my W-2. And, but during the cancer journey, I didn't see it that way. We were struggling financially. The reason for that is because the cost of my cancer treatments was over $275,000,
Wow.
which could paralyze any family financially, right? And so my husband and I were asset rich, cash poor. For a lot of people here in the real estate investment world, the reason for that is because all our money were in real estate. And, you know, because the cost of my treatments was over $275,000, we were at that point thinking, like, do we have to sell everything and then move back into my in-laws' house, right?
Mm.
And, you know, at that point, all I could do was really, when our backs were against the wall, was get down on my knees and pray, like, God, help me out. Like, we don't know what to do. If we were supposed to sell off our assets, give me a sign. And I kid you not, when you pray, answers will come. Right? And that same week where I felt like I didn't like everything was falling apart, my life insurance agent called me, and who happens to be my husband's aunt. But she called me and said, you know, I heard about your diagnosis, and if you are struggling financially, did you know that the life insurance that I forced you to buy when your daughter was born 7 years ago has living benefits? Essentially, it's a way, it's a live or illness riders that's attached to your life insurance policy. And that means you could accelerate the death benefit, the money that your family would have inherited if that was the time that God called you home. You can use that to pay for your treatments.
Wow.
And so that was the answer to my prayers. We accelerated one of my life insurance policies, the one that she forced me to buy, accelerated that, paid for my treatments, and then also covered loss of income as well because I couldn't work for a few months
Mhm.
and didn't have to sell any of our assets. And that was the moment where I realized, okay, this might be the calling that I need or that God has put on me, because I'm not sure if you guys know, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And it's not because they're not making any money. A lot of them are making six figures and up. It's just because they weren't taught how to manage their money. Two,
Mhm.
because, you know, even though they're increasing their paycheck, the cost of living increases far way faster than than what they're earning, right? And so I thought, like, if this has happened to me, I was making, my husband and I were making six figures each. And if that was happening to us where financial struggle was still beating us up, a lot of Americans are feeling this way as well, especially if they get sick, right? And they're living paycheck to paycheck. How are they going to pay for their treatments? And so that's the calling that I answered to. Decided that, you know, I'm going to jump into this industry. I have no idea what it's all about, how to even succeed in this industry, but it was a calling that I had to answer to. And now my goal is to help as many Americans get out of this financial hamster wheel that they're in of just hustling to survive and finally helping them thrive. And so now I'm in the industry, learned about infinite banking, which Christian is very well aware of and has helped many people do that as well. And then leverage that to get into real estate investing without risking any of their money, I would say. So that's kind of like where I am out now. And I'm building this thing called the Thrive Movement just to help people do that.
Awesome. Well, it's an incredible story. You know, one of the things that's kind of been a eye opener to me recently was kind of realizing for a lot of people, for me it certainly was, and for you too, is to have that change in path or that change in direction. A lot of times we know that we want to do that, but there needs to be some sort of catalyst. And unfortunately, for most people, it's usually not a good catalyst, right? It's something that's terrible that happens that forces that change. But like you said, we can look back a lot of times in the moment. It's not something that we're like excited about. But looking back, we can see the path forward and the reason that these things happen to us. So thank you for sharing that. I do want to dive into the Thrive movement a little bit more, what
Yeah.
you've what you're developing, because Teresa's part of a coaching program, a very well-known real estate community. Guy's name is Pace Morby. And she's been a part of that coaching community for a while, and then it wasn't until very recently, I mentioned we've done the mastermind together with Rosario and Chris Farrell and you and it was within the last couple months that you went to kind of a big event where you were challenged to create your I believe what they're calling your Mount Everest, right? So why don't you tell people about your Everest and then kind of expand on the Thrive movement a little bit and why that's so important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who don't know what Mount Everest is, or you guys know what Mount Everest is, but in our community, what we call the Mount Everest is essentially our 5 to 10 year goal. And it's not just all about money, but it's what is our goal to make an impact in this world, right? And that's where I really thought, okay, I thought in the beginning my impact was like, let me just get as many Americans covered so that they're not struggling with their their illness, the financial burden of their illness if anything happens, right? And when I joined that community, they challenged me and they said that Mount Everest isn't big enough. And so my Mount Everest, after a while just talking to Pace and the rest of the community, it was more of like, okay, what is the legacy that you want to leave in this world? And that for me was I want to help in 5 years, 5,000 people to get out of this cycle of just hustling to survive and finally help them thrive. And the next question was like, how are you going to do that? And the way that I'm going to do that is actually what I call the Thrive movement, right? Because I want people to thrive. And so the Thrive movement actually has 3 pillars to it. The first pillar is the Thrive banking. It's infinite banking for those of you who know what that is. I'm just rebranding as Thrive banking because it is a financial process for you to thrive, right? It's the foundation of this Thrive movement, and that is to leverage a cash value life insurance policy. Now, if you guys are not aware of infinite banking, essentially infinite banking is replicating what the banks are doing. And the banks are doing 2 things really well. The first thing is they know how to make money work and get those high rates of returns anywhere from 5% to 30%, right? By lending out money through mortgages, through car loans, through credit cards. I'm not sure about you guys now, but I'm seeing rates for credit cards at 30% or 29.9%, which is outrageous, right? So, how do we get those high returns? And the second thing that the banks are really good at is transferring the risk, right? They're not taking any of the risk because the money that they're using to lend out is not their money, it's our money, the depositors. When we put money in the bank, they quickly turn around and lend that out to get those high rates of returns. And so they're using our money, so it's only right for them to give some of that return to us, and that's giving us 0.25% on our deposits. Very generous of them, right?
No
So
kidding.
if they're using our money, it's only right that we get those high returns as well. So infinite banking is really replicating that, right? The first thing, I'm assuming that most of you guys are in real estate, so you guys know that real estate is a really good way to gain or to get those high rates of returns. In my world, I'm actually in the part of the community where I lend money, right? So I'm following what the banks are doing. So one of the things that you could do to get those high rates of returns being a bank by lending money as well, or investing in a fixer and flip, or investing in a rental property, right? So the way I kind of like get people to picture this is, let's just say that, Christian, you have $100,000 in your bank, right? What you do then is, let's just say a fix and flipper comes to you and says, Christian, I need, $50,000 in order to finish this flip. And at the end of the flip, I'll give you 20% on top of what I borrowed from you. You're thinking, that's great. 20%. That's like a good return on my money for just a couple months. And so what you do, if you have $100,000 in Chase Bank, you deplete that $100,000 by $50,000 to give to Mr. Fix and Flipper, right? Great. Now you're getting that high rates of return, which is the first thing that we want to tackle that the banks are doing. You're getting that high rates of return. However, because you're using your own money, what's happening is that if Mr. Fix and Flipper is a bad actor and runs away with your money to go on a luxurious vacation to Italy, for example, you just lost your money. You're still taking 100% of the risk, right? So how do we mitigate that risk? That's where cash value life insurance policy comes in, right? So cash value there's multiple types of policies are out there, life insurance policies. The first category is what we call the traditional kind. The only way that that type of policy will pay out is if something happens to you, whether that's God calling you home or you get too sick like I did, right? The second type of policy or umbrella is what we call a cash value life insurance policy. Now, these types of policies have two components to them, which makes it really powerful. The first component, it's a life insurance policy. So obviously, if anything happens to you, your family is financially okay, at least. But the second thing is attached to your policy, whether you use it or not. And that is what we call in the industry an account value, or how I try to explain to people, it's like a high yield savings account, because these types of policies or the savings account of these policies can earn anywhere from 3.5% to 6, 7, 8%, or even higher, depending on the type of policy that you have and how your money is allocated within that policy, right? Now, let's just say, Christian, that your money, your $100,000 is not, Christian knows all about this. I'm just using him as an example. But let's just say, Christian, you have $100,000 in the savings component of your policy. And it's earning, let's be conservative, it's earning 6%, right? Now, my policy and my husband's policy, my daughter's policies are earning north of 8%, right? So let's just say conservatively, it's earning 6%. It's beating inflation, which is at 3.5%, right? So it's growing, right? So let's just say $100,000 earning 6% in your policy. Mr. Fix and Flipper comes back to you and says, hey, Christian, I have this flip. I need $50,000 to renovate it. At the end of it, you get 20%. Cool. You want to jump into that. However, rather than depleting your money, you leave it there because it's beating inflation. It's earning, right? What you do then is you use it as collateral to get a policy loan. So you get the life insurance company's money to jump into this deal with this project with Mr. Fix and Flipper. Three things here, right? First, you're getting those high rates of return like the banks are doing. You're getting 6% off of your $100,000 plus 20% off the $50,000 from the life insurance company getting into this deal with Mr. Fix and Flipper. Great, right? Second is now you're actually doing what the banks are doing and transferring the risk to the life insurance company, right? It's the same thing that the banks are doing with us. They're borrowing our money. In this case, we're borrowing the life insurance company's money to get into this real estate flip, right? So you're transferring the risk. If anything happens, Mr. Fix and Flipper decides to go to Italy with your money. Well, it's not your money. It's the life insurance company's money that they're using. Your money, that entire $100,000 is still in the savings component of your policy, earning 6%, right? Now, the third thing is now you're actually increasing your working capital because the traditional route, only $100,000 of your own money is working for you. In this case, the infinite banking route or Thrive banking route, you have your money, $100,000 plus the life insurance company's money, $50,000 working for you. So now you've increased your working capital to $150,000 in this scenario versus just $100,000 of your own money working for you. So that essentially is just a few of the things that infinite banking or cash value life insurance policies have the power to do or enable you to do. Become your own bank, get those high rates of returns, protect your money, and third, increase your working capital. So that is what I'm building in the Thrive Banking, the first pillar of the program, which Christian is actually helping me with. So if you guys are interested in Thrive Banking, talk to him. The second pillar then is once you have enough, you're thinking, okay, well, Teresa, I don't have $50,000 to lend out right now, right? And so the solution to that is the second pillar to my Thrive Banking movement, which is what I'm calling the Thrive Capital Collective. Essentially, it's a real estate investing club that I'm building so that let's just say you have enough equity. Let's just say you started your policy with just, $500 or $1,000 monthly premium. At the end of the year, you should have somewhere around $5,000 to $7,000 of equity within your savings component of your policy. Now, you can borrow $5,000 from your policy to jump into this investment club that I'm building. And that $5,000 is not your way to pay into the club. It's actually the investment that we will use to jump into the third pillar of the Thrive movement, which is Thrive Capital, the Thrive Impact Projects. Now, why the,
Teresa,
yeah,
can I interrupt you real quick?
sure.
Because we're kind of starting to run up on time.
Oh, okay.
So you mentioned, kind of getting started in this, like not having the 100,000. One of the things I really liked about what you're doing is it allows people to get in with a relatively small amount for real estate investing, right? And that's
Mhm.
a big barrier for a lot of people. Is like, I don't
Right.
have 25, 50, $100,000 to get in. So what I really like about what you're doing is they can get in with a lot less money, right? And start actually making your money. Like it's mostly real estate agents on here, so we all
Mm.
understand the power of real estate investing. So can you touch on that real quick? And I'm sorry, we're running up on time, but can you touch
Yeah.
on how quickly someone can actually get into becoming a real estate investor or being basically a hard money lender for other investors?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if you're planning on putting just $500 to $1,000 into a policy, at the end of the year, you should have, or even mid-year, should have around $5,000 of equity within your policy, and that is what you can leverage to, get a policy loan to jump into this deal or this investment club with us. So
Yes.
within a year, if you have $5,000 in your policy, now the reason why we want to have it in a policy is because that protection, right? You're not
Right.
leveraging any of your money. You're using the life insurance company's money. And so just the minimum contribution in this club is $5,000. And the reason
You
why
guys are doing um
doing,
uh, she has a level and if you guys want to learn more about this, maybe we can have Teresa back on, but she has a very high level. I believe she has a military background in vetting people and doing like analysis for the military on people's backgrounds. So
yes.
really cool to help protect extra safety for the investors, as well as to make sure that like she said, bad actors aren't getting your money and running away with it. And so Teresa, we need to continue this. Maybe we can get people on, or if people are interested, maybe we can do something separate here too. But
Yeah.
Brock, put your contact information in the chat there. Is that your website, Instagram? I know you do a lot on Instagram, explaining more of these concepts. Can you share where people can find you?
Yeah, so you can see it on my my Zoom name right here, Build Wealth with Trey, is my Instagram handle. You guys can follow me there. And that's actually the place you should, if you want to learn more about Thrive Bank or the Thrive movement, reach out to me there. I respond to my DMs. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brock always asks the question at the end, what is one thing that you could leave with the group from your whole figure it out experience that has really helped you or like shifted your mindset just in life in general?
Oh my gosh. That is just taking action, taking imperfect actions, right? Because you can learn as much as you want, but if you don't take action, that knowledge is worthless.
Yeah.
So take action. It might, just imperfect actions, that's fine. At least you're moving forward with that, right?
Love it. Yeah, and I do see we have some people that would like to maybe do something separate, learn more. So, guys, you have her contact info there. You see her Instagram or the website. Uh, 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 uh,
He's like a
uh,
robot. He's like a robot right now. We got a robot on here. I will close this
uh,
out for him.
uh,
Teresa, thank you so very
uh,
much. I definitely appreciate you sharing this morning, bringing this to life of understanding. I think we have to be creative on everything that we have. There's so many opportunities that people as real estate agents don't even understand. And this is just a creative way of being able to understand this industry. When I got into wholesaling innovation, I was just like, wow, this is pretty crazy. I didn't even know we could even do stuff like this. And so being creative and stepping outside of our comfort zone, being uncomfortable, learning from our experiences, growing through things. And, I was given a second chance in life as well as you when you go into that moment and, you know, we know that everybody on here, you don't need to go through a second chance. You just need to have that realization like, damn, what else? You don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What we do know right now is limited. What we don't know is limitless. And so we need to be able to open up our eyes to be able to understand other people. So I just want to thank you very, very much for being on here and sharing. We will make sure all that we put her contact information inside of the Brock's Events Mindset Motivational Show so you can follow up with her, as well as the recording will be on my YouTube channel. So come join us on our YouTube channel as well. So that way maybe there's some things that you missed or you want to pick up that she said, because there was a lot of different numbers and different things that she was saying. So you can review it and explore it even more. So thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Christian. Guys, I appreciate everybody taking time on this Friday to join us and being part of it. I hope you have an amazing weekend all. Be safe. We'll be back Monday morning at 8:15. We do have a surprise for you Monday, all. We have a surprise for you because it is the first week of school for me. So we got some things being shaken up. So come back and join us at 8:15 Monday morning on the Mindset Show. God bless you all. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Christian. Till then, see ya.
Thank you.